Sudanese capital Khartoum amid fears of a military coup. Military forces in the country have placed Prime Minister Abdalla Hamdok under house arrest and arrested several members of the civilian leadership. They include Industry Minister Ibrahim Al-Sheikh, Hamdok's media advisor, as well as Information Minister Hamza Balul. Sudan's Professional Association led the last civilian protest, which saw the ousting of President Omar al-Bashir. It has called on people to take to the streets and resist a military coup. Al-Bashir was ousted in a civilian uprising in 2019 following military intervention. Under a power-sharing deal reached that year, Sudan is ruled by a sovereign council of civilian and military representatives tasked with overseeing a transition to full civilian rule. Now, for more on this story, we're joined via Skype by our colleague, correspondent Sara Kimani. A very good morning to you, Sara. South African time. What's happening in Sudan?
Well, what we know now is that there is an attempted coup underway, but also on the streets of Khartoum, the capital of Sudan, people have come out in droves to protest and to demand a return to civilian rule. We also know that the Prime Minister who has been in charge of the transitional government, Abdalla Hamdok, is being held, but we do not know yet where he's being held. And we also know now that the state broadcaster is under the control of the military. What we also don't know for sure is whether it is the military that has been ruling jointly with the civilians that have actually taken over government, or it's a faction of the military, because there have been attempts. Indeed, the last one was last month to overthrow the current government, and Hamdok at that time said they had managed to thwart that attempt at a coup.
Just in terms of context, Sarah, these military people were supposed to rule together with Hamdok's people to transition the country into democracy. What sort of disagreements have there been in the interim?
Well, the disagreements have been in terms of how the country is being led. Earlier in the year, there was groups of civilians who felt that the cost of living had gone up and that Hamdok was not doing enough to bring that under control. But also, while Hamdok has attempted to bring order into the country, he has said that al-Bashir will be handed over to the International Criminal Court. Remember, he's being sought by the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity. A faction of the military has not been happy with that. And indeed, the US has also come out strongly to support Hamdok's government, including removing it from the terror list. Just yesterday, the U.S. representative for Africa, Jeffrey Feltman, left Khartoum and said that he was concerned that there were attempts to overthrow the government and, threw his weight behind Hamdok. Now, this seeming relation between Hamdok and what is seen as outsiders or people who have been seen as enemies of the Bashir government before have not gone very well with the military, and so such things have brought them at loggerheads. Indeed, for the last 2 years, the two groups have not been getting along very well.
So now we watch to see where Mr. Hamdok is, just to find out that detail. Do we know what responses we've had from the African Union, the United Nations, and all these multilateral organizations?
Well, we are waiting to know where Hamdok is indeed. We're also waiting to know where the other ministers are being held. The information minister said in a Facebook post earlier that they were being held in an undisclosed location. I'm not sure why he did not want to mention where that was, but he said that they were aware that the Prime Minister was also being held. And now the African Union, by the time I was coming on air, had not spoken, but the Bureau of African Affairs, the U.S. Bureau of African Affairs, has released a statement, and the U.S. is saying that it is deeply alarmed at reports of a military takeover of the transitional government, and he says this would contravene the constitutional declaration and democratic aspirations of the Sudanese people, and so they're saying it is utterly unacceptable. Now, the other people who have made a comment are the Sudanese Professional Association, very significant that they are making a statement now, because they are the ones who led the previous uprising. And so they have called on people to come out onto the streets to resist the military takeover of what they say is their government. And they say their aspiration is to see a full civilian government by 2023.
Now, just in terms of the Sudanese Professional Association, what role are they playing in governance now in Sudan?
Well, they are not playing any role in governance as we speak. But remember, this government that is running the country, the Transitional Council, is made up of, fragmentations of civil society organizations, loosely formed political parties and political associations. But they have remained outside and almost like stood watch over the government. And so it is significant that they are still watching over, and that they have come out very strongly in the interim to condemn this takeover very on in the beginning, and calling on people again to go out on the streets. We understand that the internet has been shut down, telecommunications has been shut down, so it remains to be seen whether this time civilians will be able to, have a say compared to last time, when in 2019, when they came out on the streets in their droves. We understand also that there is a division even in the civilians this time. And like last time, when they were all out saying we want Bashir out, this time there seems to be, fragmentations in that coalition of civilians who are coming out on the streets to demand that the military does not take over the government.
What impact is this having on the region in terms of economic movements?
Well, it's going to have a significant impact. Remember, our neighboring Ethiopia has had a crisis in the Tigray region. South Sudan is also not very stable. Kenya, on the other hand, is having a conflict brewing with Somalia, although it is not turned out into a war. But this already destabilizes the IGAD region, which is not at peace as we speak.
Sara, thank you so much for that update. Hope to get more updates from you.
Thank you very much.
Sara Kimani there giving us an update on developments in Sudan. Let's give you your headlines.